Hello again. I hope you enjoyed the second week of our virtual pilgrimage. This last week, we focused on anti Asian sentiment and forced removal. Our goal was to build our knowledge base on why the incarceration occurred. We covered the institutionalized racist policies and the propaganda that helped sway the public sphere. Some program highlights included Hollywood at War and a detailed discussion of anti Japanese World War II propaganda films with Rob Busher and Jason Matsumoto. We heard from Sam Mihara and his heartbreaking medical experience at Heart Mountain, and Takashi Hoshizaki and his story of resisting the draft. We also learned about martial law in Hawaii, the forced removal of Bainbridge Islanders, and spoke with Jamie Ford on his book, The Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet. If you have read The Power of Words last week, we learned about euphemistic and accurate terms when exploring this history. It is important to accurately describe the history of the mass incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II without perpetuating euphemistic terms that the U.S. government employed at the time or incorrect terms later substituted that do not adequately describe the injustices experienced by more than 120,000 people. Internment refers to legally permissible detention of enemy aliens in a time of war. There were approximately 8,000 Issei, or first generations, arrested as enemy aliens and subjected to what could be described as internment in camps ran by the U.S. Army or Department of Justice. Isseis were barred by law from becoming naturalized citizens until the 1950s. So this term becomes misleading when applied to American citizens detained by their own government, because 2/3 of Japanese Americans incarcerated during World War II were U.S. citizens. In this instance, academia refers to their incarceration in prison camps, or incarceration sites, or American concentration camps. The term concentration camps was used by government officials at the time, including President Roosevelt, Idaho Governor Chase Clark, Secretary of the Interior Harold Ickes, who oversaw the War Relocation Authority. This week, we will look at several types of incarceration sites. We will be touching on the U.S. Army and Department of Justice internment sites like Honouliuli, Crystal City, and Kuski. We will be covering the War Relocation Authority sites of Manzanar, Topaz, Heart Mountain, Gila River, and Minidoka. We will be covering other sites in the upcoming weeks. Program highlights of this week includes a session on the Children's Village at Manzanar, learning about the shooting death of Jay Mokasa at Topaz, and a Q&A with Frank Abe on Conscience in the Constitution, focusing on the draft resistors at Heart Mountain. I hope you enjoy this week's programming, and I'll see you next week.